The Linden Avenue and Casitas Pass Road Interchanges project is an operational improvement along Highway 101 in Carpinteria, designed and programmed into the 2016 STIP budget. This project was constructed in partnership with the City of Carpinteria and the Santa Barbara County Association of Governments, otherwise known as SBCAG. This $62 million project was completed under budget in 2021. The Linden Casitas project alleviated the local congestion in the City of Carpinteria at Casitas Pass Road and Linden Avenue, reconfigured 6 freeway ramps, and extended the Via Real frontage road. New structures were completed at the Casitas Pass Road and Linden Avenue undercrossings, and at the Carpinteria Creek Bridge for both Highway 101 and the Via Real frontage road. Wide sidewalks, bike lanes, and turn pockets were added to these roadways to increase safety for pedestrians, cyclists, and motorists. 5 new traffic signals and a roundabout were constructed at the interchanges to accommodate the flow of local traffic. By lengthening the overcrossing bridges, widening the Carpinteria Creek bridges, and reconfiguring the on-ramps and off-ramps, the project creates the space for 3 lanes in each direction of Highway 101 to be built later in Phase 4A of the South Coast HOV project.
The Linden Casitas project accomplished many goals. One among them that stands out significantly was the replacement of the Highway 101 bridges over Carpinteria Creek and the addition of the new Via Real bridge over Carp Creek built to extend Via Real. Doing so increased the hydraulic capacity of Carpinteria Creek underneath the Via Real and Highway 101 to a 100-year flood event. As you can see by the pictures of storms in the winter of 2017, that fair weather crossing and center bends acted as a catcher's mitt for debris coming down the creek and was more subject to flooding during smaller rain events. Here you can see us demolishing one of the earlier stages of the old existing Carpinteria Creek Bridge. You can see what it took to raise the profile of the roadway up 14 feet to get over Carpinteria Creek. The bridges built here were a traditional stem and soffit pour. However, they showcase architectural features like inset arches and Type 80 bridge railings on the edge of decks, both of which make the aesthetics appealing and alluring. The new bridges were built spanning the entire creek bed without center supports that could risk snagging debris. In doing this, we were able to remove 240 homes from the floodplain at the Franklin Creek outlet. It also removed the fair weather crossing for this popular bike path and realigned the connection along the western bank now that Via Real was extended beyond Carpinteria Creek.
In 1969, a devastating fire torched the hillsides above Carpinteria, resulting in a debris flow and flooding event that destroyed both directions of Highway 101 bridges over Carpinteria Creek, as can be seen in this visual aid later developed to show the need for increasing the bridge's capacity. Ironically, 50 years later and halfway through the course of the Linden Casitas project, a similar fire dubbed the Thomas Fire burnt all the vegetation from the hills above Carpinteria in early December 2017. The air went thick with ash, making working conditions on site difficult, and presented some challenges to ensure we were able to continue working while ensuring right-of-way was given to first responders. 4 weeks later, on January 9, 2018, Carpinteria experienced a once-in-a-lifetime rain event that shed a half an inch of rain in 5 minutes on top of several inches throughout that evening. This resulted in a massive debris flow that destroyed many bridges over creeks throughout Montecito, Summerland, and Carpinteria. With the water, these creeks carried 40-foot trees, cut logs, large boulders, and mud along with it. In anticipation of a potential debris flow event, we worked with our contractor to add temporary embankments and riprap to protect the new bridges and the exposed upstream side of the remaining southbound 101 bridge over Carpinteria Creek. Unfortunately, 70% of the rock silt protection we placed in Carpinteria Creek to protect the bridges ended up floating away in the debris flow. As you can see, all that effort was worth it, as the last section of the existing bridge did not fail, but it did manage to block the passage of large trees and debris, which then plugged the opening underneath Highway 101. Water, mud, and debris then backed and spilled onto the highway, which spread all the way down to the Linden undercrossing. Caltrans' own rock blasting division was in the neighborhood. After being reduced to the size needed for RSP in Carp Creek, we used this surplus material to replenish the rock lost by the debris flow event. The extension of the Via Real frontage road provides for the first time a continuous local connection from the eastern portion of Carpinteria all the way to Linden Avenue. We also changed the northbound ramp configuration to Casitas Pass Road by creating another intersection to the east, decreasing the traffic impact to the busy Casitas Pass Road interchanges. The new and longer ramp alignments increase the safety of drivers coming in and out of Highway 101. A new bus stop was added to this new section of Via Real, ensuring multimodal access for the East Side community. The Class 1 bike path leading to Carpinteria Avenue along Via Real was reconstructed on this project. Closing it during construction was very inconvenient for the locals living on the east side, as it's the primary route for school children to get to the elementary school on Carpinteria Avenue. This new alignment now alleviates the need for a fair weather crossing across the creek, keeping the bike path open more days a year, and reduces the risk of debris catching the old crossing and eroding the banks. During construction, a change order is written to temporarily connect the remaining section of the bike path with a new bypass so it didn't have to stay closed for 2 years. Once completed, we now have a multi-purpose bike path with 2 5-foot lanes in each direction for cyclists, pedestrians, and skateboards, meandering alongside an avocado grove and then down alongside the bed of Carpinteria Creek. To enable pedestrians to bypass the large switchback needed for cyclists to access the crossing down below, an integral colored staircase was constructed connecting Via Real to the bike path under Carpinteria Creek. Another unique aspect of Linden Casitas was the requirement to recycle the waste generated from the project. After the invasive species were separated and properly disposed of, the remaining trees and shrubs removed were stockpiled and ground into duff to be used later on the project once decomposed. This returns those plants back to the soil where they came from and replenishes the nutrients lost when major grading removes native topsoil. An aggressive follow-up planting project is currently replacing the foliage that was previously removed, and oak trees are being replaced on a 10-to-1 ratio. All planting being installed this year follows a carefully selected palette of native species curated by Caltrans in the city of Carpinteria. Another interesting component for the project was the implementation of the relatively new technology surrounding what's called CRCP, or continually reinforced concrete pavement. This is known in the industry as white paving and is quickly becoming widespread throughout the state and country. The continual reinforcement component alleviates the need for any transverse joints across the pavement, which in turn reduces pavement noise and increases the lifespan of the roadway section, possibly as great as 50 years. This is a fully supported reinforced concrete slab roadway and is constructed to the top of bond breaker, typically asphalt pavement, and is poured in place after carefully setting the rebar and terminal joints. While more expensive up front, the cost savings are realized soon, as its life expectancy can be up to 10 times that of most traditional pavements. Over the long term, the noise qualities perform better as well. So while everybody tends to focus on all the above ground work as you're driving through the corridor, it's easy to forget about all the work that occurred underground. Thousands of feet of new drainage system were installed throughout the project limits to better get the water from the highway and local streets to the nearest watershed, lessening the impact of flooding on city streets and the highway during large rain events. Due to its nature, underground work takes months, especially when we're working in high groundwater conditions like on this project. Casitas underground all utilities within the project limits, taking out unsightly telephone poles and relocating underground. In order to accomplish this, the new structures were needed to get the utilities across the highway and stay underground. The department took on the ownership of this risk and worked tirelessly to get those relocations done during construction with the help and coordination of the prime contractor, the utility companies, and their subs. At one point, we had 3 different contractors working for 3 different utilities, all at the same time in the same location on Linden Avenue, while the prime contractor was trying to build the new profile there. In the world of deep foundations, piles with diameters greater than 36 inches require field verification to ensure the design is adequate for local soils underground. In order to run this test for our 78-inch diameter piles needed under the Linden Casitas bridges, our geotechnical engineer Ryan Turner designed this load test pile. Fitted with strain gauges installed on 4 sides along its entire length, he can then analyze exactly how the skin friction stresses developed along the length of the pile at full depth. We then drive anchor piles around the large pile and affix large beams to connect them together. We then slid large hydraulic jacks underneath to push down on our large pile with 8 million pounds of pressure until the large pile begins to sink into the ground. After careful analysis of the strain gauge data, Ryan was able to verify that the calculated pile length for this project was spot on, no adjustments needed.
The city of Carpinteria has 2 major arterial roads that circulate the town north to south. That is Casitas Pass Road and Linden Avenue. In order to increase capacity and multimodal safety for vehicles, pedestrians, and cyclists, the Casitas and Linden overcrossings were built during this project. Here you can see the support brackets for the temporary pedestrian walkway on the side of the Casitas Bridge in the first stage of construction. Cement soffit is poured and utilities are run through the bridge, and finally the deck is poured. Here you can see the Casitas Pass Bridge demolition and subsequent construction in the first stage of the Casitas Bridge, where we first drive the large diameter piles and then erect the falsework. Overseeing the bridge construction is our structure engineers, who work hard to inspect every aspect of the bridge construction for the falsework, rebar, concrete pours, post-tensioning, and finally finishing. One anticipated new improvement to the corridor was the addition of sound walls. For the nearby residents, these walls would greatly reduce the sound of the highway near their homes. They were built on both sides of the highway through the project limits, and we built the slope paving and abutment architectural features on them to match. This was done by custom staining colored concrete to match the block colors used for the sound wall construction. All were built to match the native rock colors found in the mountains overlooking the city of Carpinteria. Here you can see the demolition of the old Linden Bridge, the erection of the falsework beams, and the abutment preparation for the first stage of the Linden Bridge. This bridge put the roadway on a new alignment, so we were able to completely construct more than half the bridge in the first stage. This bridge, like Casitas Pass, is close to an adjacent school and greatly increased safety not only for the motoring public, but most notably for the pedestrians and cyclists in the area. With large sidewalks on both sides of the bridge that included 5-foot bike lanes on both sides and left turn pockets. This led to increased mobility for all types of transportation, leading to more room to cross over Highway 101. We then rebuilt the southbound off-ramp and raised it to a diamond configuration at grade with the new Linden Avenue profile. This required the use of gabion baskets, supporting slabs, and geosynthetics. You can see us constructing the final product here with a Type 80 barrier mounted on top of the MSC wall and barrier slabs on the right.
The other end of the Via Real extension lands you at the intersection of Ogun Road and Linden Avenue, connected by the new Ogun Roundabout. As you can see, roundabouts function extremely well and are many times more efficient than a signalized intersection. While it is currently being planted, you can see the aesthetic appeal in the island splitters made with local cobblestones that match the mountainsides. This roundabout had to be built in 3 stages, but was paved with one clean monolithic cap at the end. Here you can see the drone overview of the entire Linden Casitas project just after completion. We are now ready for the next corridor project as we widen the freeway towards Montecito. This $62 million project was designed by Caltrans and constructed by the prime contractor Security Paving Incorporated, their subcontractors in the Caltrans Carpinteria construction field office. We would like to thank our contractor and all our partners for a successful project delivered safely and ahead of schedule. We would also like to extend our thanks to the City of Carpinteria and the residents who lived there during 4 years of heavy civil construction. It was an honor and a privilege serving your community, and we hope you enjoy what this project has created for years to come.
You on out there? All right, let's get this thing moving.
I've been waiting 20 years for this.